Here we are with our guessing game program, and we're going to take a look at how to incorporate some message boxes here. Message boxes can be kind of a nice way to inform your user about certain things, or even get some input from your users in particular situations. So let's take a look at this first. We had a situation here where the user is guessing a number between 1 and 10. And if the guess is less than 1 or greater than 10, we were putting up this invalid entry message in a label. Instead of that, let's change this to a message box. It is a little bit more jarring. It stops the program. They can't do anything else but until they read that message and click OK by default. So this might be a good place to kind of give them a message here. So I'm just going to type in message box dot show. And then in the parentheses, the first thing we're going to put in is the text that we want to show in the message box. So I'm going to put invalid entry. You must enter a number between 1 and 10 is what I would probably like to say. Okay, but that's going to get the issue here with that is that's what I would have in my message box, but that's going to get really long and kind of take code off the screen over here when I'm trying to do this demo for you, so it's going to make it harder to read. So for now I'm just going to put invalid entry, but do note that I would put more there so you can see what's going on. So let me run that. I mean, it's always good to have more explanation in there. If I put in 11, this thing pops up saying invalid entry. Now you'll notice, and I can't interact with the form at all until I take care of this message box. If I try to, it flashes, gives me an indication, hey, I have to deal with this first. So that's good. It stops them, gives them feedback. Like I said, if it said you have to put a number between 1 and 10 in there, that'd be some better feedback. Notice also, though, it doesn't have any caption or text on this message box that pops up. It'd be nice for it to say the same thing as it does up there. So let's click out of here once, and we can do that easily in our messagebox.show method here by typing a comma. And the next thing we can put in here is the text that we want to be the caption on the message box. So now when I run this and try to put in 11, it says guess instead of guessing game. I guess I should fix that. That's okay. So we'd want it to say guessing game for the caption. Okay. The next thing we can have in there, notice it just put up an OK button by default. Okay. I do have some other options here. I don't have to memorize them. When I put that comma in there, it automatically gives me the options that I have here. So I could pick those. The main thing to realize is if I pick some other options here, they should do something. Okay? In other words, there's no reason to have an OK and a cancel button if they don't do anything different. So just having the default OK is fine in this instance. I'm going to pick it here, and the reason I'm picking it is so that I can get to the next option, because when I type my next comma, notice that I have options of putting an icon in the message box. And what I want here is, let's go with this exclamation. It's just what I'm going to pick. You do want to be careful about what you pick as your icon and your message in there. You don't want to come across as rude or too jarring to the user. It's already stopping the program and forcing them to do something. If it comes across as rude and like there's this big huge error message, we don't want to confuse them or anything. But I'm just going to pick exclamation here, and so now I got a message box that says invalid entry. Guessing game's the title of the message box. The OK button shows up, and there's going to be this exclamation icon. So if I run this, show you what it looks like real quick. Okay, and the nice thing about that is it also kind of made a sound there that makes me realize that that message box popped up, right? All right, so we've got a little message box popping up there, and you know what? I'm gonna put this text in here too. Now that you've seen the whole thing across, I'm going to put, you must enter a number between 1 and 10. Just see what that looks like in the message box here a little bit. Okay. Works. Now, I wouldn't necessarily go in here and put message boxes in for everything. Like I said, it's kind of a jarring moment. It's stopping the program doing some things. I think for an invalid entry, that's certainly reasonable. I wouldn't necessarily be going in here and making a message box every time I wanted to give the user some feedback. So I'm going to leave my label messages here that are just giving them feedback for too low or too high. But I am going to go in here and change this one when they win. Okay, because when they win, that's a big moment here, and we do have a problem in this program. When they win, what happens then? Do they want to play again? Are they done? What's the deal here? So this is a moment where something different needs to happen in the program. We made these variables up here, secret number and number of guesses, static, so they wouldn't reset. But if they win the game and they want to play again, we need them to reset. So there's some things going on here that warrant some different code in here, and maybe something that is jarring and noticeable to the user. So I'm going to get rid of that text, and I'm actually going to type in, just copy in something I had ready here so you don't have to watch me type the whole thing. But just taking a look here, I've got a message box that shows up here. And the text says, great, you win. Would you like to play again? Okay, here again, the title of this message box is Guessing Game. Now I'm going to have message box buttons that show up that say yes and no. So instead of the OK, I chose yes and no here. And then there's the message box icon is going to be a question mark because I'm asking them a question. Okay, now here again, I don't want to ask them a question and then not do anything about it. If they said yes and nothing happened, or no and nothing happened, then what's the point of having yes and no? Okay? When we do have this message box question click happening here, the message box returns this information in what's called a dialog result. Okay? So after the message box here, I just type equal sign, and here again, this isn't something that you need to memorize what to type in here. If you type in an equal sign after this message box, you'll get an IntelliSense list with the options here. So Windows Forms.dialog.yes. So in other words, if they click yes, that's going to be returned by the yes button, then we're going to do something. So I put this I got a nested if-then statement inside of this else if right here. Okay, so if they do say yes, so they've just won, if they say yes and they want to play again, I'm telling secret number that it equals a new random number just by telling it equals this equation again. It's going to pick a new random number. I'm going to change guesses to 0 all over again because these static statements do not execute again as long as this program's open. So I'm just resetting those variables by telling them they're equal to something again. I'm just blanking out a few labels here and the text box to start over again, right? So if they say yes, all this stuff happens so we can play again. If they say no or else here, I just got an else in here, then we're going to close out the application because we're done. Okay, so I just used a message box in there to start that whole process with a yes or no button to get input from the user on that. So here again, let's just guess a 7, which has always been, so I'm too high. Guess 6, still too high. 5, too high. Okay, not very lucky here so far, am I? Well, we're going all the way to the bitter end, it would appear here. And that might be the case. Okay, so I finally won. So my message box pops up here. Great, you win. Would you like to play again? If I say no, it just closes everything out. If I go through that process and I say yes, the program will stay open. Let's try it once again here real quick. Okay, I won at 3 that time, right, and 2 guesses, so I won. Now if I say yes, blanked out the guesses, blanked out my text box, and let's just make sure it was 3. Did it change it? Yeah, now we've got a new secret number. So message boxes can be a nice way to add some functionality to your program.